So welcome to another episode of Bench Talk. Like we said in our last episode, we're going to try and do these more often, and it looks like it's paid off. Positive fan feedback? Check out some of this feedback, killer. Too much whinging, couldn't get past the first 5 minutes. I haven't seen Tweedledum and Tweedledummer in yonks. What are they bullshitting about today?
Bloke probably owns an RX-8.
You guys look like two grumpy old muppets.
Oh, I think there's a K in Knucklehead.
Am I looking at Beavis and Butthead?
The fuck?
Yeah, me.
Or Dumb and Dumber?
You can't double stamp.
Or Cheech and Chong?
Hey man, that's P!
Actually, it must be Pinky in the Brain.
One is a genius, the other's insane.
Have you seen our local state government? Premier Daniel Andrews, the Labor government, left-leaning Labor, has just announced there's no place for demeaning, misogynistic rubbish on our roads or in our state. So we're doing this. If you put crude slogans on your vehicle, you will be deregistered.
What defines crude?
Exactly. But this is obviously aimed at a certain company, surely. Oh yeah, it's not just in Melbourne or Australia, they're worldwide.
They started off in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So they are an Australian company, but they are worldwide.
They're like a van you can hire. You know, a lot of people might hire them for a month because they might go on a long holiday. Usually these vans they look like they've got 1 million kilometres on them.
They're all
pretty run down.
Yeah, old bongo vans.
Usually the paint's really bad on them, so they just paint over them with some funny slogans.
So a lot of them are airbrush, like they kind of looks like graffiti and stuff.
Well, it says here, this is from Wicked Campers themselves. Each van features a spray-painted design, often featuring pop culture references and slogans which are often rude and offensive.
Yeah, you can laugh.
Following moves by various Australian states to outlaw offensive slogans and imagery on vehicles, the federal state government ministers agreed to combine an approach to deal with the issue. Now, if you haven't seen some of these slogans,
You got some examples there.
here's some of the slogans that you might see on the vans. If life gives you lemons, be glad it wasn't herpes. In every princess, there is a little who wants to try it just once. I guess you could say that is a bit offensive.
I was offended by those things.
Some of these slogans too are fairly innocuous. They're not that bad.
Yeah, and some of them are pretty rude.
But seriously, if you're an adult
I
and you get offended over a slogan,
I was offended.
To be honest, I haven't seen them that often on the road.
no.
And when I have, I've actually just laughed. Like,
Yeah.
well, look at this.
Yeah, but offended? Seriously,
Offended.
what is wrong with people that get so offended?
Now you have adults going, I was offended, and I have rights.
There's a lot of people positive about these changes.
Oh yeah. The rest are absolutely awful. I don't want to have to read this rubbish and explain it to my kids while I'm driving.
You're an adult, grow up, deal with it.
Wow, I shouldn't be surprised to see all the men whinging in the comments about their right to be offensive.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny.
Never heard of Wicked Campers before, had a quick Google search. These are awesome. Thanks for bringing them to my attention. Thank you for doing this. It helps reinforce the respect within our community. Actually, this one just sums up what we were talking about.
Oh wait, what's this?
Great stuff. We just had to approach the police in our area twice before a highly offensive sticker was removed.
I was offended.
Great move towards combating the causes of so much gender inequality.
And I was offended, and when I woke up in the morning, I had leprosy.
Imagine being the police behind the desk or getting phone calls. Sir,
Help! Naturally so.
I saw a sticker on a car. You'd be like, you serious? I've got to like write this up and investigate.
Mm-hmm.
Total butthead over a car sticker.
It's nearly as big of a problem in Victoria as home invasions, don't you reckon?
What do they do the old sandmags with the if you see this van rocking, don't bother knocking? Is that just how do you explain that to the kids?
I'm offended. So it seems that we can't seem to go 1 week in Australia without having the road toll in the news. It is a crisis. Now, for those outside of Australia, the road toll effectively is that. Just how many people die on our roads per year. It's actually not that high, really, in the grand scheme of things. But it's huge because it all revolves around, let's be honest, speed cameras. Revenue. So, there's a crisis at the moment because, at the moment, in Victoria, the current road toll for this year at this, you know, the same time last year it was 150. It was 115 last year. Now it's 174. But that's more in line with how it's normally been. If you have a look at the years, last year
it kind of comes down a little bit, but we do seem to be having a bit of a high
So
year.
what's changed in a year?
Not much.
Not a whole lot.
You can't use that while you're driving.
But a lot of the stats isn't quite accurate because a lot of the deaths, and obviously it's unfortunately people die on the roads, but that's always a risk.
3 a.m. on a Friday night, they hit a tree.
On country roads, they're not like around suburbs. Normal.
Bit of blame speed. But here it is. A peak motoring body blames government inaction for failing to reduce our escalating road toll. The Australian Automotive Association says almost half the targets set for the National Road Safety Strategy will not be met before the year expires. It's devastating, with 59 more deaths recorded. So what do? The top brass of the police... Now this is not a dig at the police force at all. At all. It's just... What's that old Albert Einstein quote?
What's the definition of insanity?
Yeah. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome? Well, here's a classic example of this. So they go to Sweden and go to... I don't even know what they were doing there. Checking out, you know, how they combat the road toll. And you know what the main takeaway was? That maybe more point-to-point cameras would be a good idea.
Well, imagine my shock.
Are you effing serious?
More cameras.
Don't worry about teaching people how to drive.
People are just going to be staring. Their eyes are just going to be thick, locked onto that speedo, because 1k over and you're screwed.
Every time I read these articles, you don't even need to read the article. You just see the title and you're like, gee, I wonder what's going to be written in this article. Like, it's just it's become laughable in Australia.
Oh yeah, I'm guilty. I reckon it feels like I look at my speedo way more than the road these days, because you're driving along and you shit. And it's more like, especially if you know it's an area that will be targeted, and it's so there's hardly any margin of error you're allowed. That's the issue.
But everyone says, you get the, you know, the whinging bootlickers will say, if you just don't speed, you won't get a fine. How many roads do you know that have had the speed limit lowered in the last 5 years? Tons. How many 70 and 90 zones are now 60 and 80 zones?
But they're saying if you don't speed, to make sure you don't speed, you've got to look at your speed all the time. Or what are you doing? Just 20 under the limit? They're probably the 20 under the limit mob.
Yeah. The safest drivers in the world who don't indicate.
Holding up.
Can't merge onto a freeway.
So now you're just going off into rants.
I could talk about this every week.
Stop whining.
Speaking of policing the roads, did you see this one? Police impounded a motorcycle, or was it a bicycle?
A motorcycle?
It was actually a bicycle that has a tiny little piss-weak engine on it to help you get up the hills. But it just looks hilarious because they've impounded the bike.
They actually got it on the truck.
The bicycle is loaded on the flatbed. That's what looks hilarious. I mean, they could have almost thrown this thing in the cabin.
So what did they impound it for? Like doing a burnout?
What may look like a bicycle to some highway patrol officers want the other road users to be aware that petrol motors fitted to bicycles can make them into motorcycles. The rider on this occasion was travelling wearing a bicycle helmet while riding at 36 kilometers an hour. In addition to impoundment, the rider will be summoned to court for unlicensed riding.
So he's been impounded because the bicycle has an engine on it.
Yeah, and obviously
why?
maybe he was riding it because he doesn't have a license. I mean, there's more to this story. But
hang on, so you don't need a license to ride a bicycle on the road, because God forbid, why would you need to know the road rules? But if you put no,
that's not true. I think if there's actually, how does that work? I think if you've lost your car license, technically, can't you get done if you're caught on a bicycle on the road? On the road, you'd be allowed to ride on a bike path. You have to look this one up. There's all sorts of clauses around this.
Wouldn't you rather have a cyclist on the road who's actually held a car license previously because they've passed a test?
Rather than a 16-year-old riding a bike.
Rather than anyone who's never sat it. They don't even know what the road rules are, but they can ride a bike on the road?
I don't know. Just imagine seeing the flatbed towie cruising around and that's a bicycle strapped to the back of the tow truck. Okay.
Thousands in fines. Speaking of the nanny state, have you seen that the era of Euro farting cars may be dead?
Why would they be over?
Well, cars such as the Mercedes AMG A45 have had their exhaust theatrics numbered to meet ever-toughening noise and emissions regulations in Europe. Just like last episode we touched on the noise cameras.
And an A45, I think from memory is correct, that is the master farter.
Yeah,
I
the
think
master,
that's
master
probably
blaster.
Bigger farter than the LV dubs.
I still to this day, I see people writing on YouTube, you know, man, delete that mid-resonator out of your Megane and you might get some, you know, pops and crackles and farting. Why the hell would I want to do that?
I don't understand that,
The
actually.
engine sounds like crap as it is. Why would you want to make...
When we grew up with turbo cars, you'd have a bit of an exhaust in the car and it would just a bit more noise. Now, everyone wants it to crack and pop and bang. I don't understand why. They want it sounding like a rally car now, do they?
These are people who've never been in a V8, basically. Isn't it?
Oh, they rev them and they pop and crack and you're like, that sounds nuts. And you're like, really?
I think they equate it to sounding like a real life, you know, like a WRC rally car, but it's not exactly the same thing, is it? It's the pops and crackles on the exhaust aren't that bad. It's the worst thing is the gear change with those DSG gearboxes, the farting.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yes, they'll take off just out of the, you know, the shopping centre car park at no RPM. They're just driving them normally.
It's because too, all those DSG cars, they're all exhaust farts. There's zero intake noise.
Yeah, I know.
You never hear a turbo spool. You never hear nice sounds coming under the bonnet.
But anyway, who the f in the OEM manufacturers thought this farting was okay? If they just had a system that deactivated it for the low IQ drivers, I'd be happier. I have to actually disagree with that one because these cars fart flat out.
They do, even on soft acceleration.
Soft acceleration, you hear them. They're just bang, bang, bang down the street.
Well, it's because too, I mean, you got to think the transmission changes very quick, so you can see why it's happening.
I understand why it's happening, but yeah, it just sounds like arse. And then you put an exhaust on it.
It's not an excuse that they still sound crap.
What's this one? Europe. No wonder Britain wants to leave it.
Now, a few episodes ago, we did mention this chick who was caught on the racetrack, falling over the fence because she's literally on the racetrack as the car's coming towards her. She's been on the track again. I think this is a different track. How the hell is she getting a media pass? But anyway, there was a picture here of her.
That photo's legit, yeah?
That's legit, apparently. The car is going past, obviously, with that much smoke. It's still at a decent speed. Probably that far away from her. And she's on the track in a squat position too. She couldn't even get out of the way. I don't understand why she's on the track and not behind the fence taking the same photo.
It's the gift that keeps giving though. Have you seen how many memes there are?
Yeah, but it says here, this is why her media has been revoked and she apologised after it. But this is... How could she apologise after she copped it the last time?
Are you sure it's the same woman?
Maybe it is a different person.
But anyway...
Actually, maybe it is a different person. I don't know about that. But it's actually pretty funny. It turned into the meme of all memes.
Yeah.
People were just putting her everywhere, and I thought, it's about time this came to the forefront. I mean, I don't understand though how all of a sudden people are on track taking photos and how... We've gone on about this before. I still don't understand how the track officials though are letting the cars... Forget the driver, forget her on the track. How the officials aren't going, hey, get out of the way.
So speaking of stuff that's innocuous, like that cyclist with the bike... Here's another one. When using a fast food outlet's drive-thru service, can I use my phone to pay? So you're in Macca's late at night.
Oh, because they're using the phone with the RFID payment, whatever you call it.
You're in Macca's drive-thru. You just want to go through and tap to pay, whatever you call it. You can't do that. No, using a handheld mobile phone while driving carries a $484 fine and 4 demerit points. Could you imagine copying that in a drive-thru? Seriously?
Well, because you don't have control of your vehicle.
If you intend to use your mobile phone to pay at the drive-thru window, apply the handbrake, switch the engine off, and then access your mobile phone. In doing so, you are not considered driving. Well, I heard that you could get done as long as the key was in the ignition. But then again, a lot of that was going back when we're on P-plates, but most cars don't have an ignition barrel now.
No. And I think something to do with, it's not private property, a drive-thru. Apparently... Under law, it is considered like an extension of a road, and that's why you can get done.
I didn't know that either. So it is an offence to use your phone to pay for Macca's at the drive-thru. What in the actual... What's the difference then if I try to fish my wallet from my back pocket, pull out my ATM card, hold and operate their FPOS machine, replace my card and wallet, and then take on board my KFC winner's meal deal?
That is true though. You can be fishing around your car, finding your wallet. What's the difference if you just pick up your phone, And tap.
I can actually see where they're coming from, the police, on this one though.
Why?
Because there's a car wash I sometimes go to, and it's really awkward. No matter how close you park to the
you can never reach them.
I can't reach it, right? So the other week, half my body's out of the car trying to pay for this thing, and as I'm trying to do it, the car's obviously in neutral, and my handbrake's on, so it's all safe. But my foot slipped on the accelerator and it revved it.
Yeah.
Now, most people drive an automatic, they don't put their car in park.
No.
Because it's easy. You just got your foot on the brake. You could slip and drive into the car in front of you. So I can sort of see both points are coming from. You just can't imagine copping a near $500 fine and 4 points for that. Although I really find it hard to believe someone's going to get done.
But it's just the reach of going to get your phone and tapping it.
Yeah,
I mean, how easy would your wallet be in the glove box or something, and you're leaning over and you're getting it? What happened? Oh, it was an accident. You're not going to get charged if you had an accident reaching for your wallet, are you?
So that means you can't take out a couple of pineapples and give it to the young girl. It's the same thing.
No, I don't know. It seems a bit. I mean, I couldn't imagine the police actually charging someone unless they felt someone was being really distracted.
Hey, in other news, did you see that a Subaru flat 4 engine ran a 7-second pass? I'm gobsmacked.
It's no 4G, is it? But I mean, it's quite an achievement to do with one of these engines, because they're not exactly the most robust motor.
Yeah, Errol's Brumby's been around for a long time, and all credit to these guys. The car just recently ran a 7.9 on small 235 radials.
He's been working that car for years. Just getting 10th after 10th out of it.
I could be wrong, so apologies if I am, but I think the guys recently moved to a forged crank, and that's allowed them to lean on the car a bit more, I guess. But that car will go quicker. It's just continually gone quicker over the last, say, 12 months. And good luck, guys. Good to see a busted engine, as you call them.
Broken motor, as I refer to them.
Run into the 7s. You don't see too many of them. Apparently, it's the quickest EJ Subaru. I don't exactly know what class it is. Subaru engine in the world.
I think they were saying EJ25.
EJ25.
I don't know. But
there's been a few 6-cylinders run 7s, and
they're not the type of motors people tend to go that extreme and push the boundaries, or they're not
that extreme.
I keep saying again, they're no 4G. Come on.
No. On top of that, Mr. Horsepower himself, Rod Harvey, just laid down a lazy 570 at 256 miles an hour in testing.
The top end king, as always.
That car's always run good top end, so it's good to see they've got the short part of the track sorted out.
Oh, that car will.
I don't even know what's the fastest import in the world at the moment. I don't pay that close attention to it. I used to know.
I think it's a 5.5 or a 5.4. It is
5.4.
It's very fast.
Is it?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they've gone over 260 now.
Yeah.
Ever since people went to billet engines, they've kind of got that extra horsepower hurdle that bumped up the power. But obviously, it all comes down to you got to use it. I mean, see, even with Harvey's car, he runs a 5.7 throttling, and it's a bit out. It's nowhere near a clean pass.
It's sort of another example, though, why they say that the 2J is the king of the import engine, isn't it?
Have a look at the list. The import list is just the whole thing is just 2J. Almost, it's a bit monotonous.
Saying that, though, if there's more support aftermarket for an engine, more people are likely to use it.
Exactly. So it's not like, obviously it's an awesome engine, but there's probably other engines out there that lend themselves to be pushed that hard, but they don't have the backing.
Like a BARRA.
BARRA, you just do it on a cast motor, surely.
Tune only?